There are plenty of citizens, many in this room, othered, ignored, and canceled by big tech, the government, and yours truly, the Democrat-run media over there. This constant,
Parents have the right to instill their own values in their children, not government. It is a scientific fact that there are two human sexes, male or female. Leave this ideology out of the schools.
What the heck is a neutral classroom anyway? A classroom needs to be vibrant, challenging, and inspiring. Take away the great words of thinkers and writers, and you are sending empty vessels into the world. I taught English and retired from CB South in 2016. When I began at UNAMI in the early 90s, I thought Central Bucks was the most enlightened district ever. In every decade in the second half of the 20th century and into this century, society and its institutions, especially schools, have changed to accommodate the ever-unfolding truths about our citizenry, all of us who are created equal. My daughter graduated from CB West in the 90s. She was different, bright, but different. She was never the 12-year-old cute girl going on 20. She preferred boyish clothes, spent hours drawing and writing. It was never the teacher's pet. She was bullied because she never fit the mold and did not know how to be cool. We sent her to psychologists, and I read everything I could to find her in educational literature, but there were no answers. After graduation, she went to college, and one day, after reading an issue of Time magazine, her life changed. The cover story was about autism, and as she read, she saw herself, and a doctor confirmed her self-diagnosis as being on the autism spectrum. That was the beginning of a painful road to understanding who she was, and what she needed her parents, family, and friends to know about her. Autism was not recognized in the 90s like it is today. In the 21st century, in my classes at South, I had students on the spectrum, and they were acknowledged by staff and students as complete people, just a variant of what people call the norm. There were books in our libraries about people with autism, and none of these books had neon signs on them requiring that everyone read them. If a student needed it or wanted it, it was there. If my daughter had had these advantages in school, she would have been spared a painful adolescence. In the same way, any child who is a variation on the typical deserves to see himself, herself, themselves in books and respected by adults who are part of their growth. Students in the LGBTQIA+ community need encouragement and validation of identity. They need to see themselves in books just as my autistic daughter needed to see herself and know she had a right to live. When I graduated high school, friends hid their sexual orientations well into adulthood because of fear and shame. Is it any wonder that this continued long after LGBTQ rights were in public discourse? In 1998, Matthew Shepard was beaten, tortured, and left to die on a fence in Laramie, Wyoming, because he was gay. This is the time when our nation must recognize a truth about our population, the complexity of gender identity, and provide a haven for the children who are dealing with this reality while they also navigate adolescence. Yes, welcome and celebrate everyone in a class. Make it a difficult journey through making a difficult journey through adolescence a little less intimidating. Isn't that the moral and human thing to do? There is nothing more exciting than a young mind asked to confront a historical event and consider its political and moral implications. Give a student a candy-coated version of history, and they will see right through your hypocrisy. Take away the great words of thinkers and writers, and you are sending empty vessels into the world. Finally, as a taxpayer, I want to know how this board and administration have the right to spend my tax dollars on a PR firm to promote policies that demean segments of the student population. And how do you have the nerve? How do you have the nerve to consort with a law firm associated with the Family Research Council when creating a policy for this public school district? Recent actions of this school board remind me of the great books I read with my beautiful students. Atticus saying To Scout and To Kill a Mockingbird, you never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around of it. More and more actions of this district make Arthur Miller's A Crucible come to light. Central Bucks seems like a version of colonial Salem, where its lies lead to fear, corruption, and destruction of the innocent. I can hear John Proctor declaring that instead of common sense, common vengeance writes the law. Last, consider these words from a great play I taught in 9th grade. It is also a line from the Bible. He that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind. And you kids who are fighting for everything, don't forget what is the last line of Gatsby. We beat on boats against the current, you continue to row.